But finish what you were.
Oh, so what happened is that like, in the same spectrum of like Scarlett Johansson and Ryan Reynolds as like, you know, these worshipped icons, you know, I like completely dwarfed them, like in importance and like I guess popularity, you know, in the spirit world. Yeah, significance, like ultimate universal significance, like the most important and topical, the most important and interesting tangent or continuity in existence. And so the spirit world was like, who the fuck are you and how are you doing all this and stuff? And a lot of people who weren't tracking me, and then a lot of people who weren't tracking me since I was a child, when I was like plagued by these like dream world assholes who were like making me believe I was in the real world, and then like having like a Halloween mask levitate out from a Vixen's bar at Roy Rogers.
Really?
Like,
Did you have stuff like that when you were a child?
My earliest memories were like my earliest memories were me battling dream world assholes. And now, like, granted, I was a little kid, and battling them equated to like running away and like going into my parents' room. But like, yeah, like very early on, dream world assholes would like recreate existence in the dream world and try to fool me into thinking I was like, you know, just existing in the real world, and then things would distort and like magic things would happen. So like some people were tracking me at a very early age because I guess like I was like you know, plagued by these nightmares, and like I triumphed over them, you know, like I battled them and like I won them, and then like they just went away. And like I kind of felt that people were like studying me back in like '97. Like I was in Japan and I had a dream that was very symbolic. I think I told you about it, about the being on a raft.
Yeah.
Right. So like I had that dream, and when I woke up, I was like, there's some people, you know, there's some things that are following me around and trying to communicate with me and stuff, right? So then like nothing really until like 2003, 2002-ish, where I experienced, or like 2003, I experienced some other weird stuff, but I had to just like ditch it and just be like, whatever, like it doesn't really affect my life enough to just keep moving as a filmmaker, and I can't really like initialize any sort of contact with these things. They just seem to like swoop in when they feel it's necessary, right? So like, so what happens is like I start to, like, let's see, first day I see my friend disappear and reappear, second day I go to this club, and I'm about to make my announcement, you know, like with what I've discovered. This is at the Auto Bar, at a Weird War show, and like I'm watching like a Weird War on stage, right, and it's a drummer from Trans Am and Ian Svenonius from Nation of Ulysses and Makeup. And like, as I'm watching them, like, well, first I walk into the club and everyone's like, whoa, it's the dude, right? And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. I guess that makes sense if you're all psychics and stuff. And like, what was conveyed to me with like my perception and with weed and stuff was that like everybody's already like a sorcerer, magician, god, whatever, and they're all using their mental powers and stuff and just keeping it a secret from me, right? And like on a certain level, I was like the last person to know that everybody has these powers and stuff, and they're all trying to keep me in this bubble world where they're like, oh, Greg doesn't know we're doing all this stuff, I'm just reading his mind, and I know where he's doing, like, I know where he's at, and I know where he's working, I know who he likes, I know what chicks, you know, so I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, like, on a certain level, some people might be out there interested in me to that capacity, but, like, later on I realized it was mostly, like, the spirit world. Still some people are out there, like, I know, you know, Jacques, right? Yes, Jacques was...
Jacques is a kid now, you know.
Huh.
He's been with this girl for a little while. I spoke to him not that long ago.
He's in like Europe, right?
Sweden, yeah.
Sweden.
He's still playing. Like they tour around like Europe and stuff. They played some big festivals and such. It's not bad actually. Some of the stuff he's done. I think he's done like 2 CDs. But yeah, he's got a kid. He's pretty happy. Like he's been like pretty like stable, and you know, been with this girl for a while. He's a little girl, I think. Super happy, like totally in love with the kid.
Awesome.
It's nice to hear, you know.
Right. I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, I always got along with Jacques. I know a lot of people had like, you know, issues and such. Jacques and I always had the ability to not have anything big, you know.
Yeah. I mean, like, so what was happening was like there's a certain era.
Sorry,
yeah. There's a certain era where like I was like this weird thing that was like that was like spearheading the master continuity, and there were other people who were dealing in this world of magic, right? like this girl and Jacques, right?
Mm.
And I feel that Jacques, like other people, had no idea why I was as advanced and powerful as I was, and so they would all act in these weird ways, right? So like, let's say that there's a guy, right? And he's like, he's been like doing drugs and studying like the spirit world and the dream world and the world of magic for like years, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's able to like, use his powers to see auras or like know how powerful a person is. And so like, I feel like I was registering on like magic people's like perceptions as like mega huge, like how like Neo sees the Guardian guy in the second movie as this like
like the
golden
floating
light. Yeah, like I imagine that like people would see me and they'd be like, Greg's power is like deafening me, right? And so then so they all became these weirdo people who were trying to like figure out what my weakness was and like or like trying to like interact with me and like best me or be more of a star or whatever to get my star power or some shit, right? So like I realized that I was this thing eventually, and like I started to do the work to like debug all these curses and I guess I used Fiona Apple as like a good like gauge of what needed to be done in order to improve the world for people. Right?
Yeah.
Like all of her music is like, I'll be your pet if you give me some of your drugs, and so I'm like, all right, there's a problem with guys who like make girls fuck for drugs, right?
You can't just blame the guys, you know what I mean? It's the,
Right.
It's the drugs.
Well, it's like it's like they're the guys who have the drugs,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like if the girl wants the drugs and like if the guy's a slime ball, then
Sure.
he won't let her pay for it.
Yeah, well, there's the slime ball situation. So I mean, there's some girls that do it, and it's not as slimy. There's I think a whole range of interactions like that.
Right.
But obviously like those creep ass motherfuckers who are just basically taking advantage of like strung out,
Right.
young girls. I mean, I used to, because I was strung out for a while, and I was with this girl Jaffa for a lot of it, and she would get propositioned all the time, and we would never even consider it because like that shit's just fucked up. But before she met me, she had some stories of some fucked up shit that had happened. She was a tragic tale, Jaffa. This story though about me waking up in the hospital.
Right.
It was because I did acid for like 3 or 4 years, just like a lot. Like starting when I was I guess 15 in high school, and I was doing it a lot in high school.
Right.
And I would take like a half a hit or one hit for like just like a no big deal kind of thing, got to that point, and then I would take like several, especially once I got into my teens and I was up at that college in Simon's Rock in Massachusetts.
Right.
So it was like my 3rd birthday in a row tripping for my 17th birthday, and it got a little like ridiculous. And this isn't the night I got taken to the hospital. It's just this was the night that I stopped for a while, because it just like I remember I had a Nerf paddle and a plastic trout, and I threw them on the ground at midnight and said, this is it. This is all I get. It just became and then I was miserably depressed for a while. I declared it like official piece of shit day the next day, and was like totally down, and then didn't do acid for a while. Well, I did acid once more to like readjust my mind a little bit so I wouldn't feel so bad.
Right.
And then I didn't do it for a few months. So then we went to a fish show, and I still had some liquid left over from a while back. I always had vials of liquid,
Right.
and I don't know how many drops. It's hard to gauge the liquid. I just did a big old squirt in my hand, basically. My
Right.
friend Jim Poe and he was 16, I was 17. He was out in Pennsylvania, like Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Right.
And it was snowing, it was cold. We went to the show, and I remember the show, like I never, like, it was total, some of it was like that stereotype you always hear, like, someone on acid thinks they can fly. Like, I always thought that was bullshit.
Right.
It's like, I would never think I could fly. But the way the seats were, it was very steep. And I remember climbing on the back of it and, like, thinking I would just sort of float off.
Right.
And I remember someone behind me actually grabbing me and being like, dude, chill. And I was like, thanks, like, I relaxed. And the music was insane. I remember it's at, like, certain points, everything would be completely silent. you know, and I remember singing the Cheers theme song, and it was just only my voice echoing, you know, it was beautiful.
Right.
And I remember seeing, like I never had, in all these acid trips, like, full-on visual hallucinations. Like, I didn't have that. Like, I would see things, you know, obviously trails and things kind of moving and morphing, but I wouldn't see things that just absolutely were not there.
Right.
Just didn't happen, you know, because anytime something would start to happen, I would just begin deconstructing it so quickly and taking it apart to its most basic elements of just, you know, nothing being there at all, you know, so that it just never happened. But this night, for whatever reason, I think because I hadn't done it in a while and or something, I remember seeing people like sort of dancing around like those metal garbage cans with fires that like hobos, you know, like lean at. But I mean, this is like in a stadium, like it was not there. But when the show ended, I just, my friend actually wandered out with everyone else, and I just stood there in front of my seat. And it took me a while to piece together what happened, of course, but I just stood there, and everyone left, and I remember seeing everyone like I'd ever known in my life, like just in the crowd, you know, like I would notice like people like that I just briefly met, you know, a lot of like girls that I'd had like crushes on, like that kind of brief crush when you're like away somewhere with a group, like maybe like a school trip, and there's like other school groups there, and you sort of have a brief interaction with some girl, and you think about her after, like even TV characters I had crushes on, you know.
Right.
And them just like in the crowd as they all wandered out, just, you know, this interchangeable thing. It was extremely comfortable, and like they would just kind of smile at me, and I knew everything was okay. And then everyone left, and I just was still there. Like the entire stadium had emptied out, and I was just there. Because the whole night, I have to say, was it all had become nothing. Everything that was around me was just a physical manifestation of the real existence, which was just me battling against, I guess what you would say was just this spirit world.
Right.
Me battling against the fraud and deception of trying to tell me that there was a static existence around me that I was not in control of, that I was just, you know, a small part of, but the reality being that I was a god and had complete control, and it was just everything they flung at me, I would have to kind of be, haha, but that's not it, and would just kind of, you know, do a backspin off and go in another direction, and again they would send something at me, and that was, you know, primarily expressed through the music, you know, and the people around me. And when everyone left, it was still just this test, essentially. And I remember the security guards coming, and they're mostly like young people. They didn't know what to do with me. It was one of these stadiums that is like indoors, you know, so like even when you go out of the seating area, there's like where the little like pretzel stands are and like that kind of thing, you know, and like a loop around it.
Right.
And I remember being kind of surrounded. I was sitting in a chair by all these like people, and I was just laughing because I knew that they had nothing on me. You know, I was still in control, and whatever they came at me with, I could get past. And at one point, I think I just took off running. There was nowhere to go. So I guess they grabbed me and brought me out. It apparently took a bunch of people, and they brought me out to because I remember suddenly feeling the cold. I was in a t-shirt and pants. My car was there, but I don't even think I had my car keys. I think my friend had them.
Right.
So I remember feeling like the cold and being put in the ambulance, and there was a medic there who I do not think could have been real. There were two people. One I don't remember, but the other one looked like a fish head. It was like an androgynous, kind of between the ages of 14 and 19. Couldn't tell if it was a boy or a girl. Kind of like shaggy hair with just like these totally understanding eyes. I mean, it was like had the EMT shirt, but like untucked with like baggy jeans and like Converse on. So I don't know. It just didn't seem like that's not really what EMTs look like, you know?
Right.
Just looking at me with understanding eyes. And they brought me to a hospital in Hershey, which was like 30 miles away. And again, it was all, you know, me battling. And I remember seeing everyone, all these people around me, when they finally had me in a bed, and I know that they gave me something, I think like Haldol or something, just knocked me out. As I woke up, strapped to a bed with a catheter in me, and no pants on, and like a John Doe bracelet with date of birth blank, and just like, fuck, you know, like this isn't good. Now
I got to be conscious during the catheter insertion, which is...
See, I think I mean, I barely remember it, because at this point it was just like flailing, you know, insane fighting for like just my life now, you know, for any kind of existence to remain of ego, you know, it was very desperate.